to welcome you to the DW Education Wednesday Wisdom. Every Wednesday, a series of conversations that we have with leaders in the education space and in technology space to be able to bring them together as we move into the new generation classroom. Today, we discuss new generation classroom with leaders from the education domain. Let me start by introducing our panelists. We have Dr. Balkrishnan Shetty, who is the Vice Chancellor of the Sri Siddhartha University, and we think of him as an educationist, but we know that he has a hospital and he's he's a radiologist. So thank you, Dr. Balkrishnan Shetty, for joining us. Thank you so much. We have Dr. G.T. Thampi, who is the principal of the Thadumal Shahani Engineering College. Dr. Thampi, good to have you on the broadcast.
Thanks a lot.
We have Dr. K.N.D. Murthy, who is the Vice Chancellor of the Dayanand Sagar University, which is based out of Bangalore. Thank you, Dr. K.B.N. Murthy, for joining us.
Thank you.
We have, welcome, sir. We also have Dr. Preeti Bajaj, who is the Vice Chancellor of the Calcutta University in Greater Noida. Thank you, Dr. Preeti Bajaj, for joining us. We also have a very important, we are talking of smarter learning, smarter classrooms, new generation classroom, smarter education technology. So we have Mr. Mukesh Nihalwani, who's the sales lead for private education for Lenovo India also, and he will bring in the technology perspective on the panel. Along with this panel, I also have my editorial colleague Vasudha, who will be my co-partner and a co-pilot in this conversation. Let me start by asking each of the panelists an opening comment on the new generation classrooms, and we'll go around the house and then I'll pose specific questions. Let me start with Dr. Shetty first. Dr. Shetty, give us your opening comments about the new generation smarter classrooms.
Good afternoon, Anurag. Thanks for that introduction. Basically, I would like to say, as for the new generation classroom, I would say this is a fourth revolution. Initially, we had the Gurukul system, where the student used to go to the Guru, and we had this university teaching system where we had kept our students within the four concrete halls. And third, we had a distant education where the students used to read from something. And now it has come to online education, where the teachers go to the school and students are at home studying everything. So this is the fourth generation, fourth revolution, I would like to say. Whether we liked it or not, we have been forced to do this newer generation classrooms. Now, in newer generation classrooms, most important thing which has happened is, I would like to say, since I am in medical education, basically what we do is we put the students in the hospitals, not in the classrooms. Soon after the 12th standard, they go to the hospitals. They learn so many things in the hospital. They don't come to the classroom. So, but overall in higher education, we see that, faculty members are, try to keep the students very close to them, the classroom, and this, that is emphasis on the emphasize too much on attendance, focusing. We see a lot of software where everything is focused. It focuses where the student goes, where the student comes, whether he sits in the classroom, whether he focuses in the classroom, whether he opens his eyes, whether he closes his eyes. There are so many softwares. But what I would like to say, the newer generation classrooms are nothing but where the students learns on himself. So we need to give that autonomy to the student. We have been talking about we need autonomy for the school, we need autonomy for the university, we need autonomy for everything. But right now, what we need to do, I think there is some background noise.
Yeah, one of you may have, it may be emanating from you. If you can mute yourself while Dr. Shetty speaks, we can hear him more clearly. Thank you so much for muting. Thank you.
Okay.
Go on, Dr. Shetty.
Okay. So, what I'm telling is we need to give the autonomy to the student. So far, we have been giving the certificates. Now, in the newer generation, students come with the certificates. Students come with online classrooms. Students come with the online courses. And you can say that my student comes with the Harvard certificate, Stanford certificate, any university certificate. You tell him the way the heart works. He'll give me the certificate. The way heart works, he has got a certificate from the best of the universities. This is one thing which I'd like to say. What is important here is a newer generation has flipped the classrooms. The classrooms have been flipped from the concrete halls of the colleges and universities to the environment where he can sit and read anywhere. See, this is like anywhere, anyhow, anyway student, and the teacher has got limited roles. And the newer generation classroom, the most important thing I would like to say, there is a natural apprehension of the faculty members. The apprehension of the faculty members is whether their role is important or not, whether they are significant or not in the education system. This has created a apprehension in the classroom, in the faculty members. So they have been insisting that, oh, students should come to the classroom, students should come to the classroom. I don't deny that students should come to the classroom, but newer generation classroom is a classroom where interaction should take place between the faculty and the student. Because I feel in higher education, especially I would like to say in medicine, even in engineering, there is nothing to teach. There is only things to evaluate. You need to evaluate the student. We need to give hands-on experience to the student. If he's a technical college, he needs to get a hands-on experience. If he's a medical student, he needs to get a hands-on experience how to treat a patient. So these are most important. So newer generation classrooms are classrooms nothing but student come prepared with the subject, and faculty interacts with them. And faculty needs to make our students wise, intelligent, not those who mug everything from the textbooks. And I would like to say, this is what it is more important we need to learn. We need not follow east or west. We need to say our students are the best. So newer generation classroom, each and every faculty member should say that my student is the best. I need not follow or I need not copy anything from the west. See, initially, of course, we have been forced or trained by the British administration, where they wanted to generate only clerks in this country. They never wanted people to work in this country. And that clerical job only has been created by our classrooms. Today, I think my student has been liberated and he will become the best student as much as possible. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you so much for bringing the holistic perspective. Now let me bring in Dr. KNB Murthy for his opening. Murthy, your opening comment on the new generation classrooms.
When we talk of classroom, normally I see two people there. One is the learner, the other is the instructor. The teacher and the learner. Whenever we talk of a new generation classroom, the basic difference that we see is the ability to adapt technology and delivery models to optimize the knowledge transfer. How does the knowledge get transferred from the instructor to the learner using the new learning methods or the delivery methods and the technology? When we talk of such an environment, we need to consider today's student. The today's student normally is a student which requires or wants the devices to be there, because most of the younger generation today have grown with the technology, with information. Therefore, they are quite think differently and learn differently. Therefore, that's the premise with which we need to understand. Today's student also uses devices for multiple things. One, for learning as a tool. That's one thing that's going to happen. Second, the discussion in the classroom also is being done through a device. Third, device is also used as a gateway to the world, basically connect to the world. Then also a content delivery is the other thing that's going to happen. Therefore, technology is going to be transparent going forward. When I say transparent, right now a faculty or a teacher, when he gets into the classroom, he needs to set up everything before start the lecture. Probably going forward, the technology will create an environment or set up the whole set of things as soon as the teacher walks into the classroom. That's the new generation classroom that's been imagined now, wherein the focus is going to be on the people. I'm sure the technology would bring in a lot of comfort, lot of changes in the way we are going to learn and teach. I'm sure the present day children need to be familiar with the kind of technology that's going to be used, and also the teachers need to get that ability to use the technology to the best possible way. I think those are my opening comments.
Thank you, Dr. K.N.B. Murthy, for it. He is the Vice Chancellor of Satya Bhama University in Dayanand Sagar University in Bangalore. He's joined us from the campus and he's made his opening remark. Let me bring in Dr. G.T. Thampi, who's the principal of the Thaddamal Shani Engineering College. Dr. Thampi, your opening comments before I bring in Mr. Mukesh Nihalwani and Ms. Preeti Bajaj, who's the Vice Chancellor of the Galgotia University in Greater Noida, into the conversation and get into a freewheeling conversation. Your opening comments, please.
Thanks for this invitation, Dr. Batra. I envisage high level of instrumentation in classroom based upon the cognitive load theories and behavioral science. Having said that, the early 2000 advent of MOOCs, massive open online resources, people written obituary of higher education. That failed to happen. That is essentially because the learners are not essentially intrinsically motivated. Therefore, for foreseeable future, there is massive scope for brick and mortar universities and classrooms. So we are also expected to improve upon the theoretical rigor. It's not only hands-on. We are expected to offer a conducive learning environment. We are speaking about changing into learning paradigm. Instead of teaching learning, adapt only learning paradigm. At the end, whether you teach or not, the graduate should learn. Now, we are committed to offer a supply chain of human capital as a professional college. We are all expected to provide a supply chain of human capital for the industry, national, international, global marketplace. If that is the requirement, productive engagement of students, that is with technology, without technology, the focus should be on engaging students, the graduates productively. They should be monitored, facilitated, enabled by possibly AI-driven digital systems. That is going to be the new classroom model, but it is going to happen in brick and mortar classroom, not online. Online is failing. At the beginning, everybody, all students, parents were monitoring, students were enthusiastic, teachers enthusiastic, but it is now failing, start failing. Moreover, the online examination also contribute to this, this failure, because everything is now easy. The moment you announce the online examination, people stop learning. It's about studying for examination, not for serious learning. So productive engagement, physical engagement with all kind of learning management system. But then there is a desired level of instrumentation in the classroom. But the vendors, technology vendors, many times push. They provide a lot of the push for integration of technology. Many times that also reduces as a self-gratifying, may not be contributing. So whoever is going for higher level of instrumentation should initially verify whether it is seriously going to contribute or not. It is going to improve upon the learning efficiency or not. Otherwise, the old way of engagement is going to change for sure, and all kind of flip classroom, blended learning, and some part of learning will be from the MOOCs. All this is going to happen. No way it is going to be the same hereafter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Murthy. Sounding a cautious note, and you are basically saying hybrid learning is the way forward. Just online or just classroom is not, and classroom has its advantages. That's the point you're making. And now let me bring in Dr. Preeti Bajaj. She's the Vice Chancellor of the Galgotia University based in Greater Noida. Dr. Bajaj, your opening comments.
Good afternoon, everyone, my co-panelists. So I would like to say a few things, although most of the points have been covered. But I would like to highlight on Education 4.0 that the new age classroom is going to be the truly example of, Education 4.0. Lot of learning tools and completely digitally driven education, which is going to be using data analytics and AI tools, strongly technology-based education. Although it is going to be, we cannot replace the physical classrooms, but it is going to be, the future is going to be the blended education. And apart from that, I would like to say three things which to make it successful, this smart classrooms or digitally driven education system, three things I always say for teachers especially. It is going to be the skilling or learning, unlearning, and relearning. These are the three words which every teacher has to adopt. Without that, because if technology based, how many teachers, what is the percentage in India who knows the technology, who are conversant with the technology driven, technocrats themselves are, many times find that it is, rapidly, they find it to be difficult to keep pace with the rapidly changing technology. So with so many tools flooded in the market because of pandemic, it's very, very challenging for teachers' part to cope up with the technology, to evolve the new ways of engagement of the student. When we are talking about, the student would have flexibility, the student would be at centric. So far, teacher-driven monotonous system was there. Now, suddenly it is going to change over from teacher-centric to student-centric. And when we are saying student-centric, where to learn, what to learn, how to learn, all would be driven by student. And in that case, how would be the engagement model so that their interest in the education would survive and for, the impact would be there. So, and we should get in, the outcomes, probably the better outcomes. For this, it is very, very essential that every teacher has to, come out with what are the essential skills, what are the necessary skills, and what are the skills related with, and his knowledge and command over the subject as well. That's also very, very essential. And the how he if he can himself design or develop the e-resources would be very, very beneficial. But then if not, the global, he should know at least the sources of across the globe, that what are the best resources for his domain, so that he can engage the students and he can suggest these are the additional way of learning. So that very, very recently UGC has also come out with a mandate on blended learning. It says in addition to SWAYAM and NPTEL, 40%, up to 40%, the universities and colleges can go for online learning. That shows the impact, that shows how what is going to be student choice, and how is going to be the future learning. So far in last 1 year, all of us have done lot of experiments on the tools, lot of experiments on learning, and now it's time for implementation. So everybody has to be gear up, the institutions with the strong IT infrastructure, and the teachers and the students who visualize the smart classroom, smart engagement, smart learning methods as well. That's
Thank you so much, Dr.
Now,
Bajaj.
thank you.
For saying that new age classroom smart learning has to move from teacher-centric to student-centric. Let me, at this point, all of you have referred to technology, how it's been effective. Dr. Thampi said that technology is not the only solution. So let me bring in somebody who has a technology perspective and who's been working with educational institutions in terms of making sure that the new generation classrooms have the right technology and are able to help in the remote learning ecosystem. So let me ask Mr. Mukesh Nihalwani a question. Mr. Nihalwani, as a leader in technology space, what are the solutions, advancements that Lenovo has to offer to enable remote/hybrid learning? Two of the panelists have specifically talked of hybrid learning. So give us your experience of working with educational institutions
Firstly, Anurag, thank you so much for having me here. And I would like to thank all panelists to sharing their thoughts. As a technology company, we always try and give best of the technology available in the market, and we always try to get the best of the global technology available, which can be extended to India education. While Lenovo is a reliable partner in today's needs and tomorrow unknowns helps to serve all education customers with innovation technology designed to let teacher and student confidently embrace change and opportunity. The solution improves and create a more positive and effective user experience. The design to provide purposeful and organized learning activity that is designed to impart attitude, knowledge, or skill to everyone. I just wanted to take everyone to a last year when we have been hit by the pandemic. That point of time, the device was the priority, right? So everybody wanted a device, and being a technology leader, we were able to fulfill a lot of institute requirement and ensure we provided the on-site support to the students and provide the enough devices whenever the institute has demanded from us. Coming to your question, Mr. Anurag, I'm sharing an overview how Lenovo is enabling remote and hybrid learning. During the unprecedented transition to learning, institutes are seeking the most effective softwares to achieve their learning goals. Lenovo is offering 3 portfolio to address key needs and to help education leader create and execute a learning plan. Which are those 3 portfolio? One is cybersecurity, student safety, device management. Second, remote class management. Third is instructional resources. Under cybersecurity, track, assess, protect, and remote devices 24/7. Content filtering, student safety, next-gen antivirus, device security. These are essential in current pandemic time when the students are learning from remote. It's very, very important, the cyber attack, and it should have the filtering as well. Coming to remote class management, manage live class session effectively with tools to share and filter content. Screen monitoring, content delivery, collaboration tools, and video conferencing. And coming to instruction resources, we have engaged students with robust learning options such as tech-enabled social learning, STEM readiness, and digital care. If I touch upon the Lenovo Smart Classroom, Lenovo Smart Classroom provide intelligent interactive education solution combining artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, and other advanced technology that empower institutes to better organize instruction work. While there are a lot of benefits of the technology. Future is technology, but right now let me focus on the key benefits in 3 areas of interactions, which our panelist has also covered in their opening speech. One is teacher, second is student, and the most important is IT administrator. For teacher, it simplifies distribution of information, instruction, and assignment. This can be done with our tools. It provides visibility on student progress with learning analytics. For students, it delivers instruction and assignment directly to their device. Interactive immersive technology keep each lesson engaging. Another great benefit is AI-powered modules. Let them learn independently at their own pace. This is for teacher and student. For IT administrator, our solution optimize operation and ensure teacher and student device and data security. It is also help in making resource centralized on one platform for easy sharing and reusing, hence time saving and cost efficient. Last but not the least, it collects analytics that goes long way to bring tangible result. Lenovo is committed to provide the best of the technology for the education institute, not only with the hardware, but also with the solution. We do have solution which can enable institute to continuity of remote learning, not only the remote learning, but also with the hybrid learning as well. Thank you. Back to you, Anurag.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing the IT manager and the, person who's responsible for technology upgradation. So, but technology is such an important thing with the promoters, the vice chancellors, the chancellors are themselves involved in technology because technology is being used by them more often than they used to 16 months back. So now let me ask my second set of questions to all the panelists basis of what they said. Let me start with Dr. Preeti Bajaj this time. Dr. Bajaj, with the remote learning becoming the need of the year, if I may say, need of 2021, continuing from last year, which is 2020, do you see education systems completely moving into remote learning or foresee a hybrid learning system in the coming year? Do you alluded to that? I'd like you to unmute yourself and answer this.
Thank you. But then, as I said, that's we cannot anytime replace the conventional mode of teaching learning. That's going to be always there. But in addition to having said that physical learning, so the future is going to be physical plus virtual both. So physical classroom and virtual classroom, the percentage is going to differ for some time. Might be it would start from 20% till 80%, but then that is going to happen. So until unless the strong infrastructure is going to be there in all the campuses everywhere, so there are going to be some issues with the might be bandwidth, might be compatibility of the equipment, the switches, and then the routers, and then many other things. But otherwise, this is so blended learning is going to be the future, not only in India. So across the world, it was always there, but then in India as well. And not only for engineering education, but is going to be for, even to the extent of liberal education or every unconventional and, not only for the mainstream, but then other allied education as well, whether it is professional or non-professional courses, technology or non-technology based courses. What I see is the flexibility, the interactive skills, until unless, so again and again, I'm focusing the same, but then to make this happen, we need to have teachers to be skilled with the flipped classroom. When we talk about flipped classroom, whether it is really happening or not, the e-content or the content development would play a major role. The content manager, content development could be in the campus, or there would be, the campuses would like to do the collaboration with the foreign universities, the collaboration with the local industries, collaboration with the MOOCs or the service providers, but then that's going to be very, very important. So collaboration is, again, I look at that when we are talking about blended learning, the lot of collaboration would take place within institutions, within the industry and institution, with research organization, with foreign universities, and so on. So I'm strong. I was and I am strongly advocating the blended learning, which is going to be there for. And one important issue which I feel is going to be likely to be alive, with this is mental health of the students. When I'm dealing with for last 1 year online teaching learning, lot of programs people are doing, we also did, but then we have to think about the mental health of the teachers and students as well, because we are also, in my university or every university, we are flooding the programs, we are having, the teachers are in the campus, whether students are there or not, and a lot of activities are happening. But to what extent and how we can be 24/7 in front of laptop, that has to be also seen. So that's it from my side.
Okay, I would want a response from Dr. Thampi, Dr. Shetty on the same.
It is observed that affluence is an antidote for pursuing engineering, science, mathematics. We historically now attracts students from middle class, lower middle class. A lot of scope for reducing the cost of education. So by proper intervention of technology, leveraging technology, a lot of cost can be reduced. But then we also should be sure about engaging students productively. higher education also expected to canalize the juvenile impatience of youngsters into creative thing. If Lenovo can come out with a solution which helps us to create learning content based upon the learning style and learning ability of the learner. In short, if somebody can come out with a solution which facilitate creation of instructional content based upon learner's ability, learner's style, again, there's a lot of scope for leveraging this AI technology. Then it is going to be completely revolutionized the whole teaching learning process. Near future, it is going to be a way of life, customized learning content for learners based upon the learning ability and learning style. Thank you.
Dr. Shetty and Dr. Murthy, I would want your comments on whether the future is going to be purely digital or digitally enabled, or it's going to be in hybrid version.
Murthy, you want to say something, Murthy, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
We need to consider several points before we exactly say it's going to be purely online or hybrid or the flipped classroom. There are three different modes. One is the face-to-face. The other one is the blended learning. The third one is what is called a flipped classroom. I think each one of them have their own merits and demerits. And it has to be decided based on the kind of student body that we have in the institution. But two things are very clear to me. One, because of the pandemic, we had no alternative, but we need to switch over to the online mode of education. All of us did that. I think the autonomy should lie with the institutions to decide the course of action. Definitely, use of technology will be there to a large extent. At the same time, three important things become very critical for switching over to any of these things. One, the passion of a student to learn. That's what is going to be very, very important. The second, the heuristic of learning. Heuristic of learning is the ability of a student to learn. The learning method of one student may be completely different from the other student. The third one, the spirit of inquiry. Spirit of inquiry is the asking the right question in the classroom. These three are going to be critical for success of any learning or learning methodology that's going to be adopted. In my opinion, I think a combination of all the three may exist. In the sense, offline classroom will continue to exist. The online mode will also, online in the sense of blended learning will also happen. Then to some extent, flipped classroom will also happen. It all depends on the ability of the teacher to use it. The ability of the teacher, because that's exactly what I mentioned as the instructor. The success of any online thing, for example, the new age classroom, depends on the 3 or 4 important factors. One, the physical and virtual space, how exactly is going to be utilized. Then the technology, how technology can be used, is the technology support and the kind of facilities. The third one, content. Content also the third thing which is going to matter. The fourth one is the instructor skill. The ability of the teacher to use the technology is going to be the key. In my assessment, if everything is going to be clear, there's no pandemic, etc., everything is clear, then all the 3 modes would continue for some time, possibly forward. Once the things get stabilized, then there's a switching over to a digital mode of learning will happen. That's my take at this point of time.
Thank you so much. Dr. Shetty, your point of view on
Thank you. Yes, Anurag. Thank you, Murthy, sir. Yes, is it offline? Is it online? Is it blended? Means, of course, the general opinion will be blended or hybrid. But I would like to say, everybody will say it should be blended, it should be hybrid. But as a doctor, I would like to say, the decision should be not with the UGC, not with the university, not with the college. It should be with the student. We need to identify what the student likes. Professor Tampi sir said online education has failed, but really I don't know whether it has really failed or not. Okay, now when we gave the online education, students liked it very much. I'll tell you, when we wanted to do an examination, in my technical college, students insisted on online examination. Number one, when we said, okay, you are all at home, okay, you write online examination, but those students in the hostels, you write offline examination. Then all those students staying in the hostel, vehemently they resisted writing on-site examination. Then we said, you are on-site, you write on-site. Then they immediately, everybody vacated the hostel, went offline. Okay, then they wanted to write online examination. So what I'm telling is, student is a boss. Let's not think we are the bosses here. Student is a boss. You want to teach something, they know what to learn. You want to insist on attendance, they want to know how to make up the attendance. You want to force them technology, they know what a technology to be followed. Today, the number of technology available to a student is humongous. It is enormous. Just now, if you open your internet and see how many webinars going on education, technology, I think you cannot just count them. So I would like to say the student is a king. We always say in medicine, if I read, I forget. If I write, I remember. If I do, I know. So we need to make the student to do something. They need to do something. It is not that, I would say, the satellite training programs which we insisted in Karnataka government with ISRO failed miserably. We wanted to do satellite technology because in government schools we gave ISRO. What is the status of SWAYAM? What is the status of so many online education platforms given by the government? How many people are using it? It is there. Government UGC tells us the students should use that. Yes, we tell our students to use that, but how many students are using that? That is very important. So in that way, I would like to say what Mukesh has told us. There's online teaching, these technologies. I would not say that I need to bombard my student with the technology, but what Mukesh has told, whatever technology is available, I will definitely tell my student to use this technology. That availability is there, the technology is available, but the student is the boss. Our ability, our goal, our aim is to make my student wise. He should be a good student. He is not a person, a robot who is scoring marks in the examination. He should have the ability to take decisions during his lifetime. And we need to, as faculty members, we need to enhance the intellectual energy of the student. That is much more important than telling them use this technology, come to the classroom and all those things. And he is the boss. And most importantly, I would like to say, at this present situation, we need not copy the West. Just remember, just imagine the situation of COVID infection. What has happened in US, Italy, Germany, France? People are dying like anything. What they could do? They could not do anything. Imagine if it had happened only in India. These people would have made fun of us. Okay, I remember when the plague struck in Surat, I was in US and they made fun of us. They are telling that you Indians worship rats because it is a vehicle of Ganesha. All such things they used to make fun of us. But I know what we can do. We know most of the things, and the most important thing is these people, or the Western educational style, should not force us to create clerical jobs in this country. We don't need any more clerks in this country. We need people who can work, who can impact, who can show results. And my student is capable of doing that, provided my faculty and my institution, my student, my UGC, my government supports him. So what I would like to say, it is a decision of the student, and I feel many of these such programs, I usually ask a student representative to participate in the webinar because he can give me the correct idea. That's what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this point, let me ask you, and let me start with you, Dr. Shetty, this time again. What are the challenges that you have faced or foresee in the remote learning, and how can they be solved for? Is it hybrid learning that can solve that? How can those challenges that you faced or you foresee in remote learning, and how can they be solved?
Remote learning, yeah, that comes to, I thought that's the last part of your discussion, that comes to best practices. I'll tell you a couple of best practices which I followed in my university. Number one, remote teaching is not one-way teaching. You don't teach them. You don't need to teach. I don't think my higher education student need to. You are not deriving a Newton's formula or Einstein's philosophy or something. That time we need to teach. Maybe till 10th standard, till 12th standard, we need to teach. After that, what we need to do, the best possibility, what we do is answer first and discuss next methodology. What I tell, this is the subject I'm going to take. All the university, they say this is the subject we are going to take, and every student will read and come. We'll ask a student to read and come. We don't take a class. And on that particular subject, in the beginning of the class, I'll ask 10 questions and I'll ask each and every student to write the answer. So this is called answer first, discuss. This is also what is called as a flipped classroom. We don't teach in the classroom. We ask the student to learn at home. He will read and learn. And in the classroom, during the classroom, I'll ask questions. Or this is not asking questions and asking somebody to stand up and give the answer. See, why I'm telling that is, Anurag and all the people here, what I'm going to tell is, you have been a student, Anurag has been a student, Mukesh was a student, Preeti Bajaj was a student, Vasudha is a student, Thampi was a student. What we used to do? When we used to learn maximum? During the exam time, yes or no? How many people used to learn during the class hours? We used to learn during examination hours, examination holidays. How many examination holidays will you get? Maybe 15 days. 15 days, all engineering students will finish off the textbook in 15 days. And we get 30 days. So what is important is, for the student, what is important is examination. So every classroom is converted into an examination or an assessment hall. I ask them to read how the heart functions, read and come about the heart functions. Then in the classroom, I ask him questions. Okay, tell me how many compartments in the heart? 4 compartments. How the right atrium works? How the left? What is the ischemic heart disease? What is heart attack? I keep asking the questions, and I take the answers. And looking at the answers, I teach. What's happening in the universities today? 101 PowerPoint lines in one PowerPoint. 101 lines. The teacher would have read it some 10 years back. He would have read it, and he will be reading the same thing in the classroom. PowerPoint should be banned, outrightly banned in teaching.
I just want, but let me bring in at this point my colleague Vasudha to ask the third question, which is about what are the key IT needs to enable remote learning. And this question goes to all the panelists, including Mr. Mukesh Nihalwani. But Vasudha, who would you like to ask this to first?
I would actually like to start with Mr. Judge, if that's all right. It's a very technical question, but as someone who's engaging with students, and also you've spoken so much just now about the teacher training and the importance of training your teachers, and how we've all talked about how students will adapt and they will learn, but it's the teachers who need to now be taught. So can you tell us, like, what are some, from your point of view, from a teaching point of view, what are some of the key IT needs that need to be there to enable remote learning?
So thank you, Vasudha. So I would like to say a few things, like at 3 level, when we engage, we are talking about smart classrooms or maybe online teaching learning. So 3 components would come. One is, very important is teacher, student, and then the third important component which will come into is IT infrastructure or digitally. So, the preparedness of the campuses. So whether it is offline or online, the technology is going to be very important component for sure. The physical, as I said, the physical and the virtual, the percentage may vary, but the all campuses must have a smart IT infrastructure, the strong IT infrastructure. That's very, very essential. Then the compatibility of the tools. So when I say IT infrastructure, it would be at the campus. The teachers also to be given, the compatible, the equipment. They may have laptop, the versions may not work, some softwares may not work. They wanted to do some, they wanted to develop the e-resources, and then some compatibility issues would come. So when I talk about IT infrastructure, it would be at all 3 levels. We have faced the issues. The students did not have the tablets. Students did not have smartphone. The smartphone or few, phones did not work with the technology proctor-based examination. We have gone for some software, and then that was not compatible on some of the, handsets. So all these challenges would come in. So IT infrastructure would include the preparedness at the campus level. in terms of bandwidth and the infrastructure point of view, and then the software, hardware, everything. The teacher's point of view, wherein they are also equipped with the gadgets, and the student point of view, wherein learner has availability and of all resources. So he should also have a electricity, internet, and then handset, and then laptops and everything. So affordability and availability. These are two challenges at students level, the campus level. That is going to be one. When I talked about teachers training, so yes, the teachers have to be trained for low cost solutions as well. They should do the survey, or I would say the research of all the tools which are available and the contents which are available, because now you are not teaching locally. When it is online, you are part of global education system. So then you should have command over your subject. You should know, you should have a good survey and research on your contents as well, which I have spoken earlier as well. And the last but not the least, the engagement has to be, there has to be a continuous assessment is going to be a very important parameter of all these blended learning, online learning, virtual learning, because that continuous assessment is going to give you a feel how much is learning. When you are in a physical classroom, you know, oh, students have understood. You are asking questions. In virtual classroom, you really should have a gauge over this phenomena, whether students are, how much is learning. They may be physically present, everybody is on mute and present, but how much is learning, that has to be assessed periodically. And
how much is the active engagement into the process of learning?
Yes.
And you right upfront said about how to make it student centric. So you're kind of bringing both those points. Let me bring in Mr. Mukesh Nihalwani at this point. How do you think, what are the solutions available?
I mean, I made a note of lot of interesting question, which has been, or I would say the challenges which has been faced by the institutes. I mean, starting from teacher mental health, whether the customizing learning tool, and while the technology is available, but somehow those are not reaching to the institutes. And Ms. Preeti rightly said, the right infrastructure it's very, very important. I mean, when we talk about as an organization, what we ensure that we pack the complete solution and give it to the institute. It is not only about selling the product, but also to manage, deploy, and ensure we take care of the teacher mental health as well. While the teacher will not be juggling only with the hardware, managing the hardware, but also teacher will be focusing only on the education. So that everything we take the ownership, and we take all the challenges on our head. What are the benefits of technology in education? Simplified, teacher can easily distribute instruction resources and assignment. Engaged student are motivated by using the technology to collaborate with the others. Everyone wants more visibility on student progress, and student devices are securely monitored and protected. We do have the affordable, Ms. Preeti touched upon the affordable devices as well. We do have a solution called a DaaS, device as a service. I mean, for all the needs, the solutions are there. We are packing the solution and we are serving it to the customer. We are bringing the technology. We are making IT simplify for all the education institute. The only thing is we have to interact, we have to talk, we have to discuss the problem. All the solutions are available. Our country has all the solutions, and we have catered so many universities in last year when they wanted to distribute the PCs to the students, but because of the pandemic, they were not able to do it. We help them. We ensure that all the product to be installed, they are getting the right gadgets, they are getting the right products, like right camera, right speakers, and everything has to be enabled in such a way the student should have the seamless of education. So as a technology company, yes, we are there. We have a solution to address all the all of your requirements, and we should be able to address all your concerns with our solutions. We also personally believe hybrid and distance learning will be there for some time, and we have a smart classroom solutions which are not only cater the distance learning, but also the on-premise, but also on the hybrid classroom, but also in a distance learning as well. Thank you. Back to you, Anurag.
Thank you so much, Mukesh, for bringing in that technology solution-oriented approach and giving example. At this fragment, I'll again bring in Vasudha to possibly ask Dr. Thampi and Dr. Murthy the last question, and possibly then we'll wrap up. Vasudha?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bhatta. Dr. Thambi, you also mentioned before about, and also Dr. Ganpati also brought up, how students learn their most during an exam time. So, and you heard Mr. Nehalwani talk about, solutions. So I think that these are two biggest problems, right? Teacher training and examinations. So from a good educator's point of view, what would be the ideal solution to this online examination?
Lenovo is also speaking about immersive technologies. To practice these immersive technologies, we need virtual reality, augmented reality, hardware, software solutions. We need to have very strong public cloud service, and obviously IT infrastructure. That is the minimum, the bottom line in any higher education institute. And online examination may not be foolproof. Still, AI-driven solutions are available. To a greater extent, we can use it. By and large, going forward, we might be reverting back to classroom examination. But then some scenario, it's also even normal times, also advisable to use online examination mode. But then adapting all these solutions and methodology should be based upon evidence. Carry out some serious study, promote people to undertake the observation and analysis, and thereafter employ this. Democratization of learning space is fine, but that can also lead to chaos. We are into mass education. A lot of human capitals are to be created. It cannot be to the understanding of learners per se. They are in an impressionable age. Many of the people are lacking intrinsic interest in the study, in the program. But then the economy need a robust supply chain of human capital. So keep that in mind. Too much democratization, collating all the opinions and creating a policy new education policy, not based upon long-term study, long-term consulting, can create a lot of problem. Otherwise, it's going to be a new way for doing things. Technology is going to be used as a resource multiplier and force multiplier. That is going to be there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. I'd like to bring in Dr. Murthy again. Dr. Murthy, your comments. And you can switch on the video. I think we're at the fag end. The bandwidth has been wide. It'd be good to see you.
I've been listening to all the panelists. I think two things come to my mind. One is we all think that the technology has solved the problem for everything. I think there's the kind of feeling every one of us have, that we have the technology, therefore things are done. I don't agree with that kind of thing. There's one size fits all is not the right kind of paradigm to be agreed upon. Coming to the assessments, I think the online assessments, like what is being done today, is not foolproof, as Thampi has rightly pointed out. I think we need to come up with a new assessment methods altogether. In the sense, there are several skills which need to be measured. One skill that we need to measure is the communication skill, because there are 4 or 5 important skills to be possessed by a present-day student. In other words, the 21st century skills. The first one is the communication. Therefore, to test the communication, we may have to have some kind of essay type of questions, some kind of seminars, some kind of project exhibition where the student is going to explain the thing. That's the kind of assessment that we need to bring in. The second is the critical thinking. Critical thinking is we need to pose a problem to a student or a case study. We need to find out whether the student is able to solve that particular problem or approach that problem in the right way. What are the mistakes done by the student? The idea is not to pass or fail. The idea is to check whether the approach is right. If the approach is not right, we need to go back to the student saying that you seem to be wrong in this particular step. You need to correct that. I think that's where the learning is going to happen. The third kind of thing is the creativity. You need to have some kind of the assessment tools. Maybe you can ask them to have a poster design a poster on a particular topic and see how creatively they do the things. And you also check for a given question, how does a student is going to answer the question differently, creatively. That's the critical thing that's required. Possibly we may not be able to do this online mode. The next thing that we can think of is the fourth skill, which is critical, is a collaboration. Collaboration is we need to assign a project or a task to a student to work in a collaborative mode. I think these are the methods which we need to bring in, which may not be done through technology all the time. I think there are some things which we need to do it offline also, the face-to-face kind of mode. I think one thing is also not very well clear to me. That is, are we making everything simple to our students? Because we make everything available to them. All that, the basic difference that I see between the before the interaction of this technology and all those things, and the earlier days, we used to search for the information because the information was not available, where we need to search for information all over. Now we have plenty of information, we have to search again, what's the right information? I think the paradigm shift is there. The second thing that I also see is, by giving all this information straight away, are we narrowing down the imagination, the thinking ability of a student? Because everything is available, not much to be done. Therefore, all that the student has to do is to copy and paste it here. Is it a cut and paste that's going to help the thing? I think it's necessary for all of us to, as educators, think over and bring in those models. Ultimately, the overall opinion of mine is that we need to bring in a kind of model that we had in the Gurukul kind of system. Gurukul kind of system is basically permit a student or allow a student to learn his or her own pace, at their own pace. That's critical. Therefore, we need to tell the student that this is your ability, this is exactly what you like most, start working on that. And the other thing that also required is to make an assessment of the ability of a student, what the student is good at. Basically, the student is good at coding, good at the communication, good at research, good at entrepreneurship. Those skills have to be identified. We need to guide the students for the right career path. I think all these things have to be done by the teacher in the classroom. I don't think technology would give all of us all the power to do everything that's required. I think, in my opinion, assessment methods have to change, has to evolve. And I'm sure in the coming years, and these methods would mature and a lot more changes are going to happen. It must be the institution dependent and the student dependent rather than anything else. That's my comment.
Thank you so much for those very valuable comments. We're already at 4 p.m., so I'd like a quick 30-second wrap-up from each one of you. Let me start this time with Mr. Mukesh Nihalwani. Mr. Mukesh Nihalwani, your closing comments as we end this discussion on new generation classroom, smarter education, and the role of technology in education.
I would like to end this great webinar with my two comments. One is, future of success lies in technology, provided we learn from it. And the second, with my 15 years of experience, I have come to understanding one thing. Technology won't replace teachers, but teachers who use technology will probably replace teachers who do not. Thank you.
That's a beautiful thing to say. The technology won't replace teachers, but the teachers that use technology would replace the teachers that don't use technology. What a quotable quote, Vasudha. For closing comments from you, Dr. Preeti Bajaj.
I would like to repeat what how I started with is for the new age classrooms, the teachers learning, unlearn, learn, unlearn, and relearn. So without that, everything would not be possible. We talk about technology and new age classrooms, but unless the teachers are ready, even if we have strong infrastructure and desire, will not able to go. So that change of mindset should begin. So for change of mindset, this is very essential that we understand the importance of learn, relearn, and unlearn.
Thank you so much. Dr. Jitish Thampi, your final comment.
The cost of education is going to drive adoption of new normal, essentially enabled by technology. That is going to be there, no doubt about this. But judiciously adopt and integrate technology and technology-driven practices in higher education space. The regulatory bodies and systems should be mindful about effective guidelines and regulations which will create a seamless higher education space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shetty. Your final comment.
Yes, chalk and talk method as well as talk and talk or the teachers and technology method, both should be available to the student as far as I am considered, and he should not enforce anything to the student. Student should decide what is good for him and he should do that. That's what I would like to say. And finally, the teacher with the artificial intelligence or maybe with the technology should not be afraid of technology or artificial intelligence. Now onwards, we'll differentiate the teacher who knows artificial intelligence or teacher who doesn't know artificial intelligence. Period. That's all it is.
Fantastic. Dr. Murthy, you have the final word before I ask Vasudha for her closing comments.
Yeah, my last comment is that most of the learning happens in informal sessions. I think the formal and informal sessions, formal is basically more rigid and strict, whereas the informal sessions are the ones which make a huge difference. I think going forward, we may have to use the technology and the other channels for bringing in the informal thing. After the classroom, if I work with a teacher, I'll learn more. I think most of my learning happens after the outside the classroom rather than inside the classroom. That's what my final comment is.
Thank you so much. Vasudha, you being the youngest on the panel, I'll let you wrap that. Young people adapt to technology and use technology in much deeper way than we all do. So final comments.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatta, and thank you all panelists for coming here today. Now, especially like to thank Mr. Nilwani for coming here today and joining us, because generally we have these discussions and they are all theoretical and ideas, which are great. It's always great to exchange those ideas and to hear those ideas and to hear them from professionals and experts who are in this field and working towards solutions and not just about the issues. And Mr. Nilwani was here to actually give us concrete answers of what is there available for us to use and what can be available for us to use. So it was a very interesting, very pragmatic, I think it was a very successful webinar. And I'm actually excited for future generations because they get to have so many options and so much, input and so many people who truly care about them learning and learning the best that they can and be ready for the future, which I don't think has been, it's always been our intention, but it has never been implemented to this degree. And with the new education policy, it's also coming out even more. We are talking about this, and we're not just talking, we're putting it out there. We are doing this, and I'm really excited to see what's going to come out of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to tell all our viewers, participants, that I'll see you next Wednesday, that is 23rd June at 3 p.m. Again, exciting set of panelists who are educational leaders to talk about the new generation classroom, 3 to 4 every Wednesday. So I'll see you next Wednesday on 23rd June. Me, Vasudha and Mukesh will rejoin you. And today again at 4:30 p.m. I look forward to celebrating the future of education with Dr. Rajendra Pawar, who joins us at 4:30 p.m. Just now to talk to BW Education about what is happening in the education domain, the edutech domain, and what is the future of learning. So BW Education will stay at the forefront of bringing education industry leaders and technology leaders together so that we can record the future of education, whether it's hybrid, whether it's virtual, and use the right technology to be able to provide the solution that is needed for learning. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you very much.